Rule number 12, break the cycle of self-referential habits, thoughts, and beliefs. Now, a self-referential habit, thought, and belief quickly becomes dogma because it's not referencing a very large world out there. Cultures are self-referential. Normalcy. Of course I do this because that's what people do. And people do that because it's normal. And we're normal people, so we behave normally. So that's what we do because that's what we did before. You've got a self-referential loop. This is the will of God because this book says it's the will of God. And it must be the will of God because it says it's the will of God. And that's all there is. It's a myopic loop of thought that focuses one in on a very small cult, on a very small set of beliefs, on a very small set of routines and habits, where you look at your parents and they did that, and you look at the people in your little town and they're doing that. And so I guess I'll just become a smoker and smoke 6 packs a day, or I'll just go down the bar and have a few beers and watch football. Everyone else is doing brain damage to their head and considering that the epitome of cultural achievement. Let me play football. Break the self-referential loop and reference the efficiency with which that loop creates well-being relative to all the other paths available. Anytime you hang out too much with someone because that's what you've always done, rather than that it awakens me, it takes me towards where I want to go, I learn new things, I grow, and I become more. Anytime you break a habit or examine a repeated routine of thought, why am I thinking again about what my mother did to me and blah, blah, blah? Well, because that's what I do. I have a few beers, I think about that memory, and then I think, this is what she did to me, and this is what happened, and I will always be this, and I will do this, because that's what I do. It's not, wow, I've got 2 billion different thoughts to choose from. This one would be bringing me towards a future, would be leading me towards well-being in this area. This one would be developing my skills here. This would be improving my health. But it's just not what I do. It's not what we do. It's the nature of life. It's this break self-referential patterns and treat them as an addiction. Self-referential patterns create the safety of the familiar, often suffocating the future and the self. They need to be treated as addictions, which means it takes discipline, it takes planning, it takes research, and it takes thought to critically analyze whether or not doing what everyone's doing what I always did before, following the cult's path, is actually taking me where I want to go. Now, this requires work, as breaking all addictions do. Every addiction that is broken reveals fears, reveals uncertainty, reveals dreads. Like often, when we were very young, we felt terrified. The world was a giant. We looked for things that seemed somewhat safe. We looked at who's alive and how have they lived. And we placed our fears of survival on the certainty that I'm going to do that. I'm going to be like this. If I copy Dad and do this and this, I'll be able to survive. If I do this, if I learn my ABCs, if I study whatever it is that they're teaching in school, I'm going to survive. And as we break those addictive things were exposed with the uncertainty that was there before forming those habits. As we stop smoking, there are feelings that may come up that require thought and presence and care to respond to. If we stop drinking, maybe we can't do it anymore. To keep listening to mom bitching every Sunday night on the phone, I can do it with 3 beers. I can't do it. I can't do it if I stop drinking. And maybe that needs to change. I'm not going to be your bitch anymore. Goodbye. It's broken a taboo. Now, we're not just doing what everyone in the family system does. We're not doing what everyone in our cult does. We're not following, this is how you climb the corporate ladder, etc. So what are we following? Break self-referential loops of thought and behavior down that are clearly not bringing optimal well-being. Treat them as an addiction. Understand that you're going to have to abstain from that habit for probably 1 to 3 months before the addiction is broken. And in that time, all the fears, all the panics, all the physiological sweats of an addictive phenomenon are going to come up, and oh my gosh, everyone's going to hate me because I'm not doing the rule. That doesn't make any sense. Go through that addictive period and start discovering and developing an awareness of who I could be. What do I want to think? What do I want to believe? You see, there have been 10,000 cults in human history, 10,000 languages, each with their own belief systems, each with, the Christians said this, the Muslims said this, the Buddhists said this, and those are just some of the main things going on right now. Anthropologists estimate that there have been 10,000 languages and separate cults. They each thought they were right. What are the odds? They each thought they were right. So, of course, ours is the only one in that whole mix that actually is right. This is absurd. Our culture's purpose is to give us a storyline and a rough framework for interacting that gets us into being into a grown-up body able to cope and survive for the most part. And then it leaves us there, either stuck in the limits of that particular culture or empowered, should we choose to tear up some of the cult contracts, some of the family contracts, empowered to start creating something new. There have been 10,000 cults and cultures in human history. Why not another one? Why not a culture that's right for you? A daily routine, a weekly routine, a yearly routine that's right for you. You enjoy going to sleep at this time and waking up at this time, or you enjoy sleeping 3 or 4 hours, taking a nap, sleeping 3 or 4 hours, taking a nap, and having high bursts of creativity in between. You enjoy spending 2 months in this place, 5 months in this place. You enjoy a life on the road. You enjoy multiple relationships with honest, consenting partners of this nature and this nature. You have to break out of self-referential thoughts. It's true because it's true because it's true, and I know it's true because it's true. As opposed to, I've analyzed all the data and all the choices available to me. And it seems like when I go this route, after I face my fear of death, this is why it has to be broken as an addiction first. After I face my fear that the whole world is going to fall apart, if I break with the norm is there to protect us from our fear of change. After we break that particular contract with normalcy and start going out into a wider world, we can gather actual data. For example, I tried having 7 lovers for 1 year. 3 of them kind of came and went and whatever, but three core lovers. And I discovered it was a wonderful thing. No lies, complete transparency, explosion of sexual expression, interesting sides of myself I never saw before. And I discovered I prefer monogamy, but of a very certain kind. That I enjoy a very rich, growing relationship, with someone where we spend a lot of daily quality time together. And I don't know anyone else who did just that or did it that way or likes exactly what I like. It doesn't matter. It had never occurred to me until I met someone else doing it. It's like, wow, that doesn't ruin your whole life? You're not an evil person because you love more than one person? No. And also discover that I like going deeper with one person. And it can change with time. So break out of self-referential things. Wean yourself off of them. Whatever they are, go systematically through this. I love you because you're family. Do you feel anything particular? What does that actually mean? What does love look like to you? And I don't like you because you're a stranger. Well, what does that mean? Break out of these thoughts and discover who you are.